Hi everyone, as someone who loves making and eating flour-based Chinese food, I'm excited to kickstart my flour series with steamed flour buns. 花卷. Enjoy! First, to make the dough, I use 4 cups of flour. This is an old recipe, so I haven't converted the measurements to metric yet. Maybe I'll do that for a later video. Next, add 1 teaspoon of salt. Measure out 2 cups of water. Add 2 teaspoons of dried yeast and stir gently, making sure to dissolve the clumps at the bottom. Once the yeast has fully dissolved, add to the flour mixture. Since we're making leavened dough, we can add the water all at once. When you don't see any more wet spots, you can start kneading by hand. But before you start kneading, have some spare flour beside you to do adjustments based on the humidity of your kitchen. If the dough is too dry or wet, the usual method is to add water or flour onto your hands and knead it into the dough. Never add water or flour directly to the dough. The dough is ready when it is sticky but doesn't really stick to your hands, and when you poke it, the hole stays and doesn't stick to your finger. Set the dough aside to ferment and double in size. Mine took about 1 hour. While your dough ferments, you can prepare your green onions. Chop your green onion finely, but not so fine that you can't see the individual pieces. Here I've split the stalks into thirds and some of the wider leaves in halves. Once your dough has doubled in size, prepare your workstation. Dust your hands and work surface well. The first step is to deflate the dough. Here, I'm not kneading to develop gluten, I'm kneading to push out all the air bubbles from the fermentation process. When you're ready, roll out the dough into a flat rectangular sheet. I was going to make 4 sheets, but I realized my sheet is too small, so I switched to making 3 sheets, so that each sheet would be big enough. next steps are the same as baking green onion pancakes. Add oil, salt, and the finely chopped green onions. Roll and seal the seams. Cut the log in half and make small section cuts. If you want to be detailed, you can make alternating thicker and thinner cuts. The idea is to take 2 cuts and stack them, the thinner on top of the thicker. Here I will show you a few folds that I know. The first is a simple fold over and pinch. The second is a single twist and pinch. The third is a double twist and pinch. The fourth uses a chopstick to make one twirl before carefully sliding out. As you can see, I'm not very good at this, just keep practicing. Also, there are many more ways to fold the dough, so you can be creative. I steamed these buns for 14 minutes, switching the layers in the middle, so around 7 minutes. You can let them cool on a rack or at an angle. The smell is irresistible. And now for the summary. This recipe uses leavened dough, so make sure your yeast is active. Do not overproof. Overproofing makes the dough sour, which is an undesirable flavor addition. In warm places, sometimes baking soda is added to the work surface when kneading dough to counteract the acidity. Chop your green onions finely helps avoid poking holes in the dough, especially for the more rigid stalk portion. There are 3 things to be careful when steaming. First, make sure there is always water in your pot, never let it run dry. Second, the water must be boiling, so that the steam is hot enough to cook the food. Third, be extra careful when changing the layers, as steam is very hot. That's all for now. See you next time.